Was this all some kind of twisted joke? What was Sophia trying to achieve with her harsh words? Over the phone, I could hear my mother-in-law, Sophia, making fun of the situation. It baffled me how she could involve her grandson in such chaos. With a heavy sigh, I thought to myself, let's just head home. Little did Sophia know that she was about to encounter a situation beyond her expectations. My name is Kayla. I'm 38 years old and work at a fairly typical company. My husband Richard and I have been happily married for 10 years. We first crossed paths in a university club during our college days. Back then, we were just friends who enjoyed hanging out together. We never thought about dating. However, after bumping into each other at a reunion event years later, we reconnected and started to grow closer. Eventually, we began dating, and about a year into our relationship, Richard proposed to me earnestly. I still vividly remember the serious look on his face when he asked me to marry him. We tied the knot shortly after and soon welcomed our wonderful son, Bob. Bob is a spirited and slightly mischievous child, but he's truly kind-hearted. He does well in school and has a deep passion for baseball. Since he was young, Bob has played on a local youth team, practicing his batting come rain or shine. His impressive skills have led his team to numerous victories, making him quite the local star. Richard and I never miss a game. We're always there, cheering loudly from the stands. Hey, Mom and Dad, did you catch today's game? How was it? Bob would beam after each match. We wouldn't miss it for the world. We'd respond enthusiastically. That home run was fantastic. It changed the whole game. Bob, with a proud smile, would then head out to the yard for more practice after dinner. His dedication and commitment are truly inspirational. He used to show the same zeal when he was part of the swim team, tirelessly honing his skills despite the challenges. I hold a senior position at my company and strive to embody the same perseverance and determination that Bob shows. When work gets tough, I find motivation in his relentless spirit. Despite the joy and positivity in our daily lives, there's a persistent issue that shadows our happiness. Sophia. Since Richard and I married, she has harbored a clear disdain towards me, often questioning my actions with a critical tone. Kayla, why are you sitting down? A daughter-in-law should be helping her mother-in-law, she would say, setting a tone of constant judgment. This ongoing tension with Sophia has been a lingering concern in our household, overshadowing the joy of our family achievements. One day, during a relaxed family meal where my father-in-law, Lucas, had just offered me dessert, Sophia's patience seemed to snap. I was enjoying a light-hearted chat with Richard, but Sophia appeared increasingly irked. Later, in the kitchen, she shot me a harsh glance and muttered a string of complaints. How can you be so thoughtless? Is this how you were raised? Her words took me by surprise, not only because they were harsh, but because she knew nothing of my upbringing. Since our first meeting before the wedding, Sophia's demeanor had always been rather severe, making any attempt at closeness feel strained. Thus, I had limited my visits to their home. However, after our son Bob was born, the visits became more frequent to delight my in-laws who adored seeing Bob's cheerful expressions. Although Sophia doted on Bob, she often made cutting remarks towards me. One day, barely masking her criticism with a smile, she said, "If Bob misbehaves, it's all down to your parenting." She didn't stop there, often questioning my approach with comments like, "I'm concerned with a mother like you," and even boldly stating, "I'd like to raise him myself," as if I weren't fit to be his mother. Her words stung deeply. Interestingly, Sophia only made such remarks when Richard and Lucas were not present. My silence only seemed to aggravate her more. "Aren't you listening?" she would demand sharply. In those moments, I wondered, who does she think is without flaws? When Richard or Lucas reappeared, Sophia's attitude would instantly soften as she gushed over how adorable Bob was. Visiting the in-laws meant bracing myself against Sophia's subtle barbs, but after Bob was born, I discovered inner strength. I focused on Bob's milestones, my career, and the small joys of daily life. These distractions helped minimize the space Sophia's comments occupied in my mind, making them seem like mere dust, easily shaken off. She might have mistaken my silence for agreement, but I chose not to expend my energy engaging with her negativity. Occasionally, her remarks still irritated me, but ignoring them became easier, especially knowing that she misunderstood my quiet resilience. Lucas, Richard, and Bob were always my pillars of support. Over time, I even began to view these challenging interactions with Sophia as potential memories that might one day shift in flavor from bitter to bittersweet. 10 years into our marriage, our regular visits to the in-laws, complete with Sophia's jabs, had woven themselves into the fabric of our family routine. I sometimes questioned if the complexities of in-law relationships were a universal struggle. On a day like any other, as I brushed off another of Sophia's critical comments, my son Bob intervened. With a determined look that revealed the weight of his thoughts, he addressed his grandmother boldly. "Grandma, why do you always speak to Mom like that?" he asked, catching Sophia completely off guard. Sophia, flustered, replied, "Bob, what are you talking about?" "Don't pretend you don't know," Bob cut in sharply. "I've heard how you speak to Mom. It's not right. You should be kinder. I don't like seeing you act this way." His words seemed to come from a deep place of accumulated courage. All he yearned for was a touch of kindness from his grandmother. Sophia appeared puzzled initially, as if the meaning behind Bob's words eluded her. Then, a flicker of annoyance crossed her face. "Bob, where did you learn to speak like this?" "Isn't it rude to interrupt adults?" she retorted. "Kayla, you need to teach him better. Look at his attitude. It's problematic how he doesn't choose his words carefully." I was inwardly moved by Bob's brave stand. He had always shown a bold spirit from a young age, and I was proud to see that he still held on to that strength. "Bob, thank you," I told him, my voice thick with emotion. "But it's okay. Please just step back a little." "Grandma, my mom is very kind," Bob insisted, showing his unwavering support for me. Sophia's critical words lost their impact on me over time, but I didn't want Bob to endure any negativity on my behalf. Just then, Richard, alerted by the tension, entered the room with a look of concern. "What's happening here? Why does everyone seem so upset?" he inquired. Caught slightly off guard by Richard's sudden appearance, Sophia responded meekly, "Oh, it's nothing. Just a small talk with Kayla. I'll go make some dessert." After Sophia retreated to the kitchen, Richard turned to me, his expression filled with concern. "Are you okay?" he asked. Before I could respond, Bob blurted out, "Mom is being bullied by Grandma." I hurried to clarify, wanting to keep the details sparse, yet realizing Richard might worry if I didn't disclose enough. "It's been a bit difficult, but I explained, deciding it was best to open up about the ongoing challenge. This way, Richard could understand the situation more fully without feeling left out of the loop. For years, Sophia's harsh words had been a thorn in my side since I married into the family. Over time, I had discreetly recorded some of her verbal onslaughts, not out of spite but for my sanity. When I finally revealed these recordings to Richard, he was taken aback by the extent of the verbal abuse I had faced. "Why didn't you tell me about this sooner?" he asked, his voice tinged with regret. "I'm sorry I wasn't there to support you." "It's okay," I reassured him. After Bob was born, my days were so filled with childcare and managing the house that I didn't dwell much on Sophia's behavior. I focused on the positives, like watching Bob grow. Richard looked at me, admiration in his eyes. "I never realized how strong you've become," he said. "You still managed to smile through it all." I laughed lightly, brushing off the compliment. Despite everything, having Richard and Bob by my side made it easier to let the sting of Sophia's words fade into the background. But soon, a significant event would further test my relationship with Sophia. Lucas, my father-in-law, was retiring, and Richard and I wanted to do something special to celebrate. We thought a family trip abroad would be memorable, and after some discussion, we decided on a destination. When we shared the idea, Lucas was thrilled and suggested that we all go together. Our family, along with my in-laws, was set for our first joint overseas trip. Richard was concerned about my comfort, knowing Sophia would also be joining. "Are you sure it will be okay?" he asked cautiously. "I think if we manage our time well and take some breaks from each other as needed, everything will be fine," I reassured him. "We'll have a great time and make some positive memories." To my surprise, Sophia was extremely enthusiastic during the trip planning. She pulled out brochures and eagerly suggested numerous places to visit. Initially, I was hesitant about her dominating the plans for a trip meant to celebrate Lucas, but seeing how happy and supportive Lucas was with her enthusiasm, I decided to respect his wishes too. On the day of the trip, we woke up early, buzzing with anticipation. We headed over to my in-laws' house, and I greeted them warmly. "Good morning, Dad and Mom. Please get in the car," I said with a smile. Lucas responded with a beaming smile. "Thank you for today. I've been looking forward to this." Bob, bubbling with excitement, chimed in. "Grandpa, let's sing that song we like on the way." Lucas agreed enthusiastically. As we settled into the car, Bob and I took the back seats with Lucas, and Sophia gracefully took the front passenger seat. The atmosphere was light, and as we drove off, the promise of new memories seemed to smooth the edges of our past difficulties. Richard took the wheel, ready for a smooth drive to the airport, while the rest of us settled into our seats and arranged for a comfortable journey. The traffic was light, allowing us to chat and sing along to the radio as we made our way. Arriving at the airport with time to spare, we decided to wander around, exploring the various shops and the observation deck. Bob, who loves watching airplanes, was particularly excited by the view from the deck. As our stomachs began to rumble, Bob announced, "I'm hungry." So, we stopped at a small cafe for a light meal. Afterward, we strolled through a souvenir shop where my in-laws took their time examining the different items, clearly enjoying themselves. As it was nearly time for our flight, we started heading toward our gate. On the way, Sophia, showing a moment of thoughtfulness, suggested, "Kayla, do you want to take a break? I'll watch the luggage. Why don't you go to the restroom?" It seemed like a considerate offer, so I left her with our bags and took Bob, who also wanted to go, to the restroom. Surprisingly, the restroom was unusually busy. Even the men's room had a line, which made me chuckle at the unexpected situation. Hearing about the crowd, Sophia offered to watch the bags so Richard and Lucas could go too, mentioning she had already been. After using the restroom, Bob and I returned to our meeting spot, but to our confusion, Sophia and the luggage were nowhere to be seen. I felt a sudden wave of panic and tried calling Richard, but couldn't get through. Were they already at the boarding gate? The absence of our luggage made me even more anxious, fearing it might have been stolen. Just then, my phone rang. It was Sophia. "Hello," I answered, trying to sound calm. Sophia's voice came through, eerily cheerful. "Where are you?" Trying to maintain composure, I asked, "Where are you, Sophia? What's going on?" Sophia laughed and replied, "There's no need to tell you, Kayla. I just want to enjoy myself with my husband and son. You two are just in the way." Stunned and confused, I pressed, "Wait, this must be a joke, right?" As casually as one might discuss the weather, Sophia retorted, "Your luggage?" "Oh, I think I threw it somewhere." Panicking, I scanned the area and, thankfully, spotted our bags hidden under a nearby chair. Frustration replacing my anxiety, I confronted her. "Is this some kind of joke? What are you trying to achieve with this?" "Oh, calm down." Sophia dismissed my concerns. Her flippant attitude only fueled my frustration further, but I tried to keep the peace, at least for the sake of the trip and our family time together. I felt a cold wave of disbelief wash over me as Sophia's voice, full of mischief, chimed through the phone. "I've made sure your wallets and passports are safe, but how about spending the night on the streets for fun?" She laughed heartily. Confused and alarmed, I pressed for details about Richard. "Where's my husband?" I demanded. "Richard? Oh." He and Bob couldn't wait to get on the plane. They went ahead to the boarding gate. Sophia replied, her tone suggesting she was enjoying a private joke. "That's why I had to rush you and make you sit apart. I knew you'd figure this out soon enough," she added, her voice dripping with unsettling glee. My heart sank as fury mixed with shock. I couldn't believe Sophia would involve her grandson in such a cruel game. "We're going home now," I stated, my voice heavy with defeat. "Sounds good," Sophia responded cheerfully. "I'll pick out some souvenirs for you. Of course, on your credit card." With that, she hung up, clearly pleased with herself. I stood there, stunned, never imagining our family trip could spiral into such chaos. But Sophia's antics weren't going to go unchallenged. As I processed the situation, my phone buzzed, a WhatsApp message from Richard, filled with concern. "Are you okay? I can't see our seats from here." I quickly filled him in. Sophia had tricked us, and now we were unable to board the plane together. Richard was flustered by the news. "Seriously, what happened?" he typed back, his words a mix of disbelief and urgency. "I'll explain more in detail, but for now, just come down," I texted, starting to devise a plan. Richard agreed, deciding to go ahead to San Pedro Sula with Sophia in the meantime, allowing her to think she had won. Meanwhile, I took proactive steps, heading to the police to report my wallet as stolen and calling the credit card company to freeze our accounts, protecting us from any further mischief. Once everything was secure, Bob and I decided to make the best out of the bizarre situation. We changed our plans and checked into a nearby resort hotel. The view from our room and the delicious food offered unexpected highlights to our impromptu vacation. Bob, delighted with the turn of events, even offered me a bite of his food with a big smile. "Mom, this is delicious," he exclaimed, his grin assuring me we had made the right decision despite the chaos. We also enjoyed a lovely barbecue at my parents' house. The aroma of grilled meat and the warmth of being surrounded by family transformed our ordeal into a genuine retreat. 5 days later, Richard and my father-in-law returned, their faces etched with genuine remorse for the trouble caused by Sophia's actions. Despite the unexpected twists, our time turned out special, reminding us that sometimes the best memories are the ones we never planned. I was still in disbelief over Sophia's actions, and so was Lucas. With a heavy heart, he confessed to me, "Mag, I'm so sorry about what happened. I should have been more vigilant." Though they were apologetic, Bob and I had already moved beyond our initial anger. Curious about how their trip went without us, I asked Richard for details. Richard chuckled before sharing that their trip turned out to be a great success, albeit not in the way one might expect. They had devised a bit of revenge in response to Sophia's antics. After leading her to believe they were staying at a luxury hotel, they had booked themselves into a different location, leaving Sophia to arrive at a hotel where I had canceled the reservation. Sophia had tried repeatedly to contact Richard and Lucas, but they ignored her calls and messages, choosing to enjoy their time in San Pedro Sula without her. Bob, eager for details, asked his dad if they had fun. Richard smiled and affirmed they did, but quickly added, "Yes, but next time let's all go together." Richard then shared more about Sophia's misadventures. "She kept sending frantic messages," he sighed. Apparently, Sophia had ended up staying at a budget inn, struggling with the discomfort and lack of funds. She had been counting on using my credit card and expecting money from Richard and Lucas, but found herself with hardly any cash. As a result, she hadn't had a proper meal since the first day and was both physically and mentally exhausted. When Sophia finally returned, her appearance alone, disheveled hair and bloodshot eyes, spoke volumes about her ordeal. "What have you done to me?" she exclaimed, looking utterly worn out and confused. However, no one in the house offered her sympathy. "You brought this upon yourself," we told her. I explained to her how her actions over the past 10 years had not gone unnoticed. Sophia tried to defend herself, but Richard interjected, revealing that he had heard the recordings I made of her mistreatment. "I was shocked when I listened to those recordings. I had no idea you were capable of saying such things to Kayla," he told her. "You always seemed kind on the surface, but behind our backs, you were quite different." This confrontation marked a turning point, highlighting the contrast between Sophia's facade and her true behavior, making it clear to everyone just how deep the issues ran. The incident in San Pedro Sula was a turning point. Sophia had left Kayla and Bob stranded, and even went as far as to steal a wallet. Richard couldn't hide his disbelief. "What were you thinking? This isn't just wrong. It's a crime," he said sternly. Sophia, flustered, tried to defend herself. "I just wanted to have a good time with the family. Kayla and Bob are family too," but Richard's patience had worn thin. "I'm done with you as a family member," he said coldly. "I'm considering a divorce. I never imagined you would do something like this. You've been deceiving us for so long. I can't forgive you for hurting our precious family. I don't want anything to do with you anymore." Sophia, rebuked harshly by her husband and son, looked down, her face pale and shocked. She kept apologizing afterward, but the damage was irreparable. "Kayla, I'm truly sorry. I'll apologize as many times as needed. Please forgive me," she pleaded with a hint of desperation. I responded firmly, "That's going to be a tall order. Your harassment made my life extremely difficult. I will be seeking compensation. And about my stolen wallet? I'll be reporting that to the police. You should also cover the hotel cancellation fees." My decisive words seemed to drain the color from her face even more. As a result of this incident, Sophia suddenly found herself facing massive debts. Having been a housewife for many years, the only jobs she could secure were minimum wage. Her relationship with her husband deteriorated beyond repair, and she was forced to start anew in a modest apartment, working tirelessly to pay off her debts. Meanwhile, our family gradually regained our peace. The following year, we planned and went on a much-needed overseas trip together. Bob was thrilled to experience a foreign culture and scenery for the first time. Seeing him so happy and content warmed my heart and reinforced the importance of cherishing and deeply loving my precious family. After all the turmoil, it was a relief to find tranquility and joy once again.